Howdy, folks. It is Diecastbuffet here again, and finally, Kyle Larson gets it done at Homestead. After years and years of frustration, Larson gets it done at Homestead. And I tell you what, the red and white paint scheme really gives me some of the 42 target vibes that from his earlier years in the Cup Series. And of course, you can pre-order that race to win 124 scale diecast. Almost certain they're going to be making a 164. You can get that pre-ordered over there at our friends at Circle B Diecast. You can save on shipping with the promo code DIECASTbuffet for any orders $30 or more. We got plenty of next-gen stuff to review on the channel, but let's kind of talk about the Homestead race. So, I feel like this was very similar to last week. The last, 20 laps, or I say last week, I say about the Roval. The whole, 80% of the race, the first 80%, was pretty tame, right? There was some moments. Certainly this race was better than the Roval. But then the last, 10 laps, it was chaos. I mean, you had Ross Chastain and then you had AJ Allmendinger just racing as hard as you can without dumping each other. It was amazing. I mean, AJ in that 16 car, dude. I hope he wins next year. I really do. I want to see AJ have a run in the NASCAR playoffs. My goodness, Chastain, that beautiful Kubota car. It really reminds me of Robbie Gordon's 31 car from yesteryear, just a little bit. What a fantastic show right there. And then Martin Truex Jr. just going through the field at the end, driving angry, which I don't blame him. You know, he was going to be Larson and Truex going for the win at the end. Just, wow, man, that last 10, 15 lap run, the racing was just perfect. But every other portion of the race, there was some dull moments. Let's not kid ourselves. The battle of attrition, the cautions were not there. You did see a wreck with the 45 spinning out. He didn't really hit much. He just wasn't a contender. Rest of the race, which was John Hunter Nemechek in the 45 car. He had the 8 car, Tyler Reddick. He did hit the fence. He had some substantial damage. He was a factor earlier, and then just mired back. A little bit of tough luck there. But it didn't have that battle of attrition that we're so accustomed to seeing with the next-gen car that we saw at Fontana this year, that we saw in the Spring Vegas race, even the Texas Fall race. And I don't know if it's the cars themselves are just getting stronger, or the drivers are being more timid because of the possibilities of the safety issues with the cars. Who really knows? But I'm starting to see a trend of the racing becoming a little bit more tame. I mean, you think about it. You go to Talladega. It was arguably the most tame Talladega race in a long time. And then you have the Roval, which was the most tame Roval race ever. If you could even think of the Roval being a tame race, it really was, especially the first 100 some-odd laps. And then you go to the Vegas race, and it just seemed it was not even half as I would say action-packed as the spring race, in my opinion. And then you have, not Fontana, but Homestead. And while the racing at times was fantastic, you saw cars go, lower groove, middle groove, and of course the outside wall. And they were just all over the place. There wasn't much comers and goers and parity for the lead. I mean, Larson was just that dominant. It's like his best racetrack. Statistically, no, because it's checkers or wreckers for him. He should have won there probably 3 times now, but every time he goes there, it's either he's not in the championship 4, and the general consensus with the drivers, if you're not in the championship 4 back in the Monster Energy in the late Sprint Cup era, you don't race them, which I think is stupid. I think if you park your car on the grid, I don't care if you're in the championship 4 or not, you should race them as hard as you can. That's what I would do. I couldn't care less if they're in the Final 4 or not. I want to win. So that, I think, played a part into it when Larson was at the 42 Ganassi days. He never made it to the Final 4. And then, of course, he would run too hard, get in the wall early, and just take out all the speed in his car. But finally, he got it done, which was really, really cool. There was an incident between Martin Truex Jr. and Kyle Larson on pit road. From what I've seen, the 19 missed his pit box, and he had to make a quick correction. The 5 car had no idea. He's looking exactly at his pit box. Sure, they might be counting him down, the spotter, the crew chief saying, hey, 19's about to come in, X, Y, and Z. if the 19 would have turned into the middle lane and got into his pit box, that never would have happened. He would have restarted in the top 4, most likely, depending on the speed of his pit crew. Unfortunately, when you're just having a bad year in the sport, these things just happen. I mean, it doesn't matter who it is. Every driver is going to have that year. Jimmy Johnson's had years like that. Kyle Busch, Chase Elliott. I mean, when it's bad, it is bad. But when it's great, it is great. I don't think there was any wrongdoing with the 5 car. I mean, everybody's nose to tail on pit road. They do it 100 times every year, and the only time they might criticize it is when something like this happens. Fortunately, it was no one got hurt or anything. I don't believe, but yeah, that it sucks for the 19 camp because this was another great opportunity for them to win this year, and it just fell through at the end. So kind of like the Ryan Blaney. So many times he's up there, he's contending for the wins, and something just random that you never expect happens and takes him out. But back to my point about the quality of the racing. It doesn't matter where you were in the pack. You were able to race hard. However, I feel like the drivers were not as aggressive as they could be. Again, I don't know if it's the drivers just being more timid, right? Maybe they're just saying, hey, we got safety improvements coming in 2023. I'm not willing to push my car to the absolute limit, knowing if I spin out and make any contact with the wall, I'm taking a huge risk, right? And I have noticed the drivers it seems like the aggression is not there since the Texas race. Since Bowman's, concussion, it does seem like the aggression level has went down. That could just be coincidence. It really could be. It could just be, maybe they didn't make mistakes that day. I don't know. But I much prefer the aggression. Like when we saw the racing earlier this year at the 1.5 miles, my goodness, the Kansas race, the Vegas, the Fontana, those races were incredible. So my point with all this, I really hope this is not a sign of things to come for 2023, that we're already starting to see the next-gen car become that invincible iron horse that the Gen 6 was, where you don't see part failures. I really hope that's not something we're starting to see. You don't want to see safety problems, but I want to see some mechanical problems. Create some strategy, create some parity. That's the true essence of stock car racing. It was like that in Winston Cup, Sprint Cup, Nextel Cup. It doesn't matter. It's been in the sport since the start of it. I really hope the Gen 7 car is not already becoming that. When you have great racing that we have early in this year, and I touched on this point, how can you keep it consistent? How can you keep the quality of racing we see in the first half of this year 4 years from now, 5 years from now? You don't want to see it just fall off a cliff and go back to what it was in the Gen 6 car in the late Gen 6 era, when the 1.5 mile racing, I mean, no one showed up to them. Let's just be honest. Barely anybody showed up to them besides the 600. So, what do y'all think? Make sure to comment down below. We got 2 races left in the season, which is it's crazy. I mean, time must be going by a lot faster than I expected. But yeah, 2 more races to go. Gotta be honest with you. I think Martinsville is I think we're gonna see some controversy. I think we're gonna see some drivers duking and diving. Chase Elliott is not a lock for the Final 4 on points. He's like 10, 15 points to the good. He is one bad stage away from being 5 points to the good. And if he's on the restart and you got Denny Hamlin, you got Ross Chastain or Ryan Blaney, you're going to see some fenders bent. I'm just saying, guys, I think we're going to see some controversy at Martinsville. But going on the spring Martinsville race, it might be a little bit tame in terms of just the overall competitiveness for the win. The short tracks have been the Achilles heel for the next-gen car. And then we go to Phoenix, which, if you've been watching the channel, you probably know this by now. I think Phoenix is the most overrated racetrack probably on the schedule. Every time we go there, it's extremely overhyped. It's like Richmond. And it blows my mind, guys, and I'll end the video on this, that we have 2 races at Richmond and Phoenix, which in my honest opinion are the 2 most overrated racetracks in the sport. And we have 1 race at Homestead. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. We have no races at Chicagoland. But we have 2 races at Richmond and Phoenix, and it's continuing next year. Yeah, that's what I think about that. But anyways, so cool to see the Valvoline car win again. So Larson won Watkins Glen. He won Fontana. Now he gets that victory with a Valvoline car 2 years in a row. And I tell you what, a Homestead race to win car, let's hope it's got a crap load of confetti on it. And it has the right side damage from ripping the fence. But thank you all again for watching. Make sure to give the video a huge thumbs up, like, comment, and subscribe. Huge congratulations to Larson, and hopefully we'll be able to get the 9 car in, maybe the 1 car into the Final 4 at Martinsville next week. Thank you all again for watching. Have a great night, everybody. Diecast Buffet signing off.